Welcome to another video from CompuGuy Videos Tutorials. This tutorial I will focus on showing you how to use your computer. We'll start with a little task list on the side here. We'll try and get through as many as we can, and I will add multiple videos as we can. So the first video is welcome to your computer. Now, your computer could be a laptop, a MacBook, a desktop, a Chromebook. Your computer could also be a tablet, such as an iPad tablet. It could be an Android tablet. It could also be, I don't have it listed here, but it could also be a Windows tablet, which is also called a Surface. I am not focusing on that at the moment because I don't want to confuse you with the Windows versions that we're working with. So what we will talk about is mainly the desktop and laptop. Now, these are all called personal computers. Yes, MacBooks are also personal computers. So for them to say an argument with PC versus Mac, they all are personal computers. So with that out of the way, now we know we have a laptop, we have a MacBook, which is also a laptop using a different operating system. We have a desktop. Mac also has a desktop called an iMac as well. I haven't listed it here, but let's just try and keep it simple for you to understand. So in order for a computer to work, any computer, they all need what's called an operating system. Now, operating systems is what gives you the functionality to be able to use your mouse. And today, everyone uses a mouse in every operating system that is out there. Your finger could be the mouse on a tablet, an iPad, touch screens. Your finger could be the mouse, or you have a device called a mouse, or a touchpad on the MacBooks and Chromebooks. PC uses a mouse. Some have another type of mouse, maybe like a touchpad added on, or they'll have like in the little middle of the keyboard you have this little eraser head looking thing that was also called a J mouse back in the IBM days, when IBM made ThinkPads, which is now Lenovo. So without going further into that, we'll just carry on with the operating system. So an operating system is required for you to do anything in your system, such as if you want to go on the internet, check your email, load up any applications, do word processing, play games. You need an operating system to operate the computer. The most common operating systems have been around over the years is DOS, and this was more of a command line system. So a DOS could be something like go in here to applications. I'll show you a simple version of a DOS. A DOS could be something simple like this. So it's just command line. And if you have to know what you're looking for, so if you want to go in to look at the library, you have to actually know how to use operating system commands. Well, this was a little too difficult to use for normal people to use computers, as everybody calls us geeks and nerds. Those type of stereotypical names are given people who knew how to use the computer at that core functionality. Back then, it was a little harder to use a computer. People used floppy disks and smaller computers that weren't as fast as they are today. And then we developed into Windows, which gave us a mouse to move around. Back then, the Apple OS was around back then as well, but we're going to talk about Windows. Windows went Windows 3.1, then Windows 95 came around, and that's when we had the start button come around. It made Windows a little more easier to function, and Windows 98 came around. There was also one called second edition, which is SE, so Windows 98 SE came around, and then Windows 2000 came around, where Microsoft wanted to change their business operating system, which was called Windows NT at the time. They wanted to merge that together with the home experience so they can make one operating system do both things and just have a little variances between the two. They failed to deliver gaming ability with Windows 2000. A lot of the companies making games didn't quite make it work properly. So Microsoft faulted back to Windows Millennium Edition, which is an ME. And that allowed everybody to carry games forward like you had in Windows 95 and 98. Windows 2000 didn't really pick up too much at home. With that happening, finally Microsoft was able to merge the two OSs together, and they came out with Windows XP Experience, the Windows Experience. They wanted to bring this newer operating system out and to give you more functionality, and it was the most popular Windows operating system around with the functionality. It took a long time to get rid of it. They just took a couple years back, they decommissioned it and put it out to pasture and wanted you to move forward to an operating system called Windows Vista. That was a newer operating system. And then they quickly jumped over to Windows 7 because Windows Vista didn't get taken to very well. A lot of people stayed with Windows XP because it was more stronger, it was more solid. Windows Vista was just too much of a change for people to understand. So Windows Vista was really put out to pasture. We'll mention these ones. Windows Vista became the second version of Millennium. Nobody bought it, nobody really enjoyed it because of Microsoft's little mess up there, trying to get things to change. So these two operating systems were ones that people always refer to as, oh, the bad ones. So when Windows 7 came around, it tried to replace Windows XP. It started to. The momentum was rolling, but a lot of people still stayed with XP because it was stronger. Microsoft extended their support. They really wanted to push people off of it. So they brought out Windows 7. Windows 7 got a little older. They brought out Windows 8. And then Windows 8 started being referred to as the third version. Like Windows Vista. Nobody wanted it because they changed things again. And then Windows 8.1 came out and they fixed it again. And now we are at Windows 10. Now Windows 10 brings us all the experience from Windows 8.1, 8, 7, Vista, and XP, all the way up to the better version of Windows. So the Windows 10 so far is trying to prove itself as the best version again of Windows, wiping out all those previous versions and bringing back a lot of functionality we've had between all these operating systems. So that's the Windows-based operating system. You will see other operating systems as we talk about the Mac OS, and the OS X. They always name their Tiger and Leopard and Snow Leopard. They have code names for them instead of coming out with Windows 3, 95, 98. So Mac named things after animals, and their most recent one they've changed. They called Mavericks, and then they called it Yosemite, and then Sierra. They're naming them after mountaintops now. The other operating system Google brought out, it's Google Chrome. And we will talk about that and show you some of this as well. The Google Chrome operating system is a very sleek, slim, free operating system that they want to give out. And you see these on machines that are around $200 to $300 area. Sometimes you get them for around $150. Most places like Best Buy will push you and say, well, they can't do anything if you go offline. I'll show you some things you can do with these machines. They're perfect for kids. Schools are starting to adapt them because they're a little cheaper to function with than iPads. iPads are easy to break, so kids can use the Google Chromebooks as more of a usable computer. And we'll talk about more of that in a few minutes. The other devices have an operating system called iOS. And iOS is the operating system you see on iPhones and tablets, and other type of operating systems are iOS-like are like Android. The Android operating system is very similar. It's running on tablets. You see them on phones, and there's some companies have tried to bring out computers with Android on them as well. And another operating system is not known by many people. IBM, back in their day of glory, they were trying to bring in a nice graphic user interface, a GUI as you hear it. The interface was trying to bring the IBM operating system up to a graphic user interface. They worked with Microsoft for a bit, and then Microsoft and IBM had a little falling out, and they decided to go off on their own and make Windows NT, which is new technology. That's what they called it, Windows NT, way back in the Windows 98 era, in this era. So IBM came out with their OS2, and then they came out with a better version, and they kind of went away. So really, the only operating systems you hear about nowadays are the Windows, the Chrome, the Android, and the Mac, and of course iOS. So without further ado, let's go in and take a look at what these operating systems are and how to use your computer. So I'm going to bring up a virtualized version. It's the same thing as your physical computer. So I will show you quite a few operating systems now. we'll start with Windows 7. So Windows 7 has this Windows button, also a Start button. So this is where you start. This is where you're supposed to start with a computer. You start here and you look for all your programs. The most common ones from a basic install come up here: sticky notes, calculator. You can also do all programs. That shows you other programs you may have installed, and you just look for them. You can also type something in if you wish to find it. So if you'd like Notepad, you just type Notepad. If you'd like calculator, as you start typing it, it will then give you the words you want to find. You will also notice here, the Start button lets you shut things down. That's always the joke. You go to start to stop. Well, you can also hibernate the computer. That's when you want to walk away or you want to close down that laptop and you want to carry it with you. Hibernate it. That will leave everything running the way it is and just freeze it in memory. Shut off your laptop. When you turn it on again, it will bring everything back up running the way it was running before you shut that lid. As you see people with MacBooks, they just close them and walk away. You could do that with Windows PCs as well. The restart will reboot the computer. Every now and again, it's a good idea to reboot the computer because it will reboot. It takes everything out of memory and it reboots the computer and brings it all back into memory. Now, not your running programs, not your documents you're trying to save. It will reboot the computer operating system. And sometimes what needs to be done with rebooting computer operating system is to just clear the memory. The computer has memory, which is just think about that as a box. It's a temporary box. That's memory. If you think about you want to store something away, so you think of a hard drive, or an SSD drive, you've probably heard of those. Those are different types of memory. Those are storage memory. So a hard drive has moving parts, or an SSD, which is a solid state drive, doesn't have moving parts. It has memory, but it's more flash driven. It gets written into. So a hard drive will store your software and you could recall it later. Memory just holds it when the computer is running. So when the computer is turned off, memory is erased. The hard drive is not. The files stay on the hard drive. So think about it this way. Memory is a place that just holds things, like your hands cupped together. You hold things. When your hands come apart, it no longer holds things. A hard drive is like your drawers. You put stuff in a drawer and you close it. And you can open the drawer and retrieve your data again. So a hard drive will do that. Same with an SSD drive and a flash drive. That type of storage. So you can lock your computer. So if you decide to walk away from your computer, you could lock it and come back and type your password and get back onto it. You can log off. So if you don't want to shut down, you just want to log off. And that way, when someone comes up to it, they can't get into it. That's what lock does as well, but only it leaves things logged on. When you log off, it takes you off the system and allows others to log on, which is where the switch user. You could put multiple users in Windows. So if you have an account, your children have an account, you can all separate your desktops so you can have your favorite wallpaper, they can have their favorite wallpaper. And that's pretty much the shutdown. And shutdown will click there. So there's also a sleep. If the computer allows a sleep, it will allow you to sleep it too. That basically puts it to sleep right now, and you could hit a mouse button or hit the power button to turn it back on. So that's the start button. This is called the taskbar. This bar here with all these icons. Now these are programs that just get put on, they call it the favorites bar. So we could put things on the taskbar. So let's say if we want this, we could right click that and say pin to taskbar, and that puts it down here. This is the start menu and this is the taskbar. So your favorite browsers are usually put on your taskbar. We'll talk about browsers in a few minutes once we get there. So this is your taskbar where you have stored just your favorite programs to run. We have Internet Explorer to go out on the internet. We have the File Explorer or Windows Explorer. Now this is not to go out on the internet, this is to go on your computer. So this is where you see where your files are. So if you have any files in your folders, you can find your files. And this is lots of files, your music, your documents, and so forth. So this is the Windows Explorer. This is where we find things on your computer. As you see, there's plenty of different places you can find things. If you have a network, you can go on your network. You have a CD drive or a DVD in the drive, you can open that up and watch a movie or install a program. You can also see on your C drive, you have your contacts, your desktop, your downloads, all your files are stored here. So that's what you use Windows Explorer for, right here. If you just hover over them, you click it, and it opens up. Now you could choose anywhere you'd like to find. The the Internet Explorer will bring up the Internet. And this is called an Internet browser. There's also other Internet browsers called Firefox, which brings up the same thing, and there's also Chrome. We don't want to put this as default for now. We'll go back over that in a minute. And the other browser we have is Chrome. Now there's also other ones you may have heard of out there. There's Opera, there's also Safari. We'll go into those in a few seconds. So there's other types of Internet Explorers. This is for exploring the Internet, and Windows Explorer is for exploring your computer. So just to separate the differences, this is called your desktop. All these icons are shortcuts on your desktop. See how they have a little arrow? They're shortcuts. If you go to the Start button, you will see there's the actual program, and there's a shortcut. So let's go over to this side. These are programs that are running in the background. So we have a Bluetooth monitor, we also have a USB monitor. If you plug in a USB key into your computer, those portable little flash drives, you plug them into your computer, you will then see it pop up into your Explorer. You'll see another disk drive letter come up. They always start with C and a D and an E and an F and so forth. And you can go onto those flash drives and copy files to and from them as well. The next icon, this is an action center. Now this is, you may see this red at any given time. And what this does is this reports to you anything in Windows, such as if your virus scanner is not up to date, if your Windows firewall is not on, or if it has any maintenance updates to give you. It will give you all any item in Windows that needs to be adjusted. It has a little action center here. You can click on that. This icon here is your network. Now if you had Wi-Fi, you would click on this and you'd have a whole list of Wi-Fi items. And all you have to do is just click on one of the Wi-Fis and connect to it. And in this one here, takes you to the actual center. So if you see where you're connecting to, so it shows this computer is connecting through the network and has internet access. If you ever have an X in between here, this tells you where your problem could be. So if you have an X here and you can't get out to the internet, that could be maybe your line to your house is broken, or maybe you need to reboot your router or your modem that your internet provider has provided for you, such as Rogers or Cogeco or Bell or any other company you may be going through. So you may have to go and actually unplug it and plug it back in again to see if you can get rid of this X over here. If it's ever an X between here and here, right in here, that means you have a problem between your computer and the router or your modem in your house. What that would mean is you would have to go and reboot your computer and perhaps take the power out and plug it back in on your router device. And that's how you would fix problems in between here. If it ever stays on and you can't get there, then you need to get a hold of a technician, a computer technician, or perhaps use another computer to find out how on YouTube, maybe perhaps one of my videos, to show you how to fix this. The other one is your speakers. You can change the volume of your speakers. You can also mute it by clicking on that. Right away, no sound. You can also go to the mixer. So if you had a different things such as a microphone setup or other things set up, you could turn up and down the volume on those items as well. And this is for the clock, the date and time. If you click on this, you will see a little calendar come up. If you click change date and time, you look at the time zone. Now in Ontario, Eastern time is our current time zone. You could change that if you are anywhere else in the world. You can change it to be anybody else's time. And the time zone, sorry. Now in here is you could change the month and the time. Anything you need to do. Now I'm going to cancel this. I don't want to change my time. There's also additional clocks. So if you're in a different city, you could show different clocks from different cities. So if you're traveling, you could put a second clock up to show where you are now and your back home time. This way you don't mess up if you're trying to call home. So you want to you're not sure what time they are in. You could change different clocks and have several clocks. Now, internet time, if you don't know how to set this, I would leave it as it is. Now what this does is your computer goes out to this website and checks to see that your clock is correct all the time. So this way, if the time change happens, that happens twice a year, where we go forward an hour or we go back an hour, this is where this would go and make sure your computer, the next morning you wake up, it's the right time. You don't have to go and manually set it. Most devices nowadays have something like this built in, so your clocks will automatically set themselves, like your cell phones and your tablets. They will all do that. If it's ever behind, you can just click update now and it will go out and make sure, okay, you're at the correct time. And this is all based on your time zone and where you are and your IP address. Everything is coordinated with this to figure out what time you should have on your computer. And that's just the basic functions here. Now if you don't like this basic wallpaper, you can right click your desktop and you can personalize your desktop. You could change the background to be other pictures. So let's say if you want something like this. Save changes, and I will move this out of the way. Now you see that the background has changed. You could change your wallpaper that way. You could change the colors of your menus. So these menu colors, so if I want to change that to be, let's say, the desktop, I could change it to be white. What will happen there is if I get rid of my desktop menu, my background will be white. I will cancel that because I don't want it to be white background. And you can also go by themes. So if you like the themes that are built into Windows, you can have it set up so characters. So now you have all the sounds, you have all these weird, all built into with this theme. So every time it changes the character, it will have different sounds. And let's change this to nature. So let's make this minimal again. And now it'll show nature backdrops. And if I show Windows landscapes, as you hear, the different sounds will happen as well. So I don't really want any themes, so I will click back to here and leave it the basic theme. And no screensaver. You could change the screensaver, so if you want it when it walks away to show all your pictures, you can have it go through your photos, and it will go through the photos as you sit. Now the time is 1 minute. It'll take 1 minute and it will keep going. So I prefer no screensaver because I have my screen just turned off at this time. So that's how you can manipulate different colors and themes and desktop sizes. And you see this is a minimize. This will minimize it down and it disappears. You can click on it to bring it back up. This will make it full screen, and this will close it. Now that's on every menu that comes up in Windows. You see it there. We can make it bigger or smaller. We can minimize it, and we can also do something here in Windows. So let's open up a couple of them. So let's open up a couple programs here. Let's cancel that, just leave that there, and I will bring up this. So now your desktop's getting full, but you've lost everything. You can go over to this corner here and click, and that will minimize everything quickly. And we click it again, it brings everybody back up. So this is just a quick way of closing everything down and say, okay, I need to have this. And you can close this, you bring that up, you can close that, and you can bring this one up and close that. Now you notice how when they're closed, they have no menus. When you open them, they have a little shadow behind them. And that's Windows 7. This is Windows 7 that does this, and this is your recycle bin. So if you're throwing something in the trash, you can right click on this and empty the recycle bin. This helps you clean out. It's going to ask you, say, are you sure you want to delete this? Yes, I want to delete this as a shortcut. So that's a trash can. It's kind of like your trash can next to your desk. You throw things in there, and then on garbage day you take it out. Well, you could throw things in the trash can, and there they are. And then when you're ready to, on garbage day, you can empty the recycle bin and they're gone. Now once they're gone out of here, they're gone. You would need a recovery tool to bring them back, so be careful what you delete. Now that's Windows 7. Now I'm going to go and show you a different operating system. This one is called Linux. In this case, it's Ubuntu Linux. Now this is a free, or Ubuntu, this is a free operating system. It's given away for free, like Android is, and it has some built-in software that looks like the Office package, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, similar. So LibreOffice, it's what it's called. And I'm not going to go deep into this, but this is pretty much the same as Windows. It has a file manager, it has files, it has all kinds of software. You could do many things with this. I don't want to really focus too much on Linux at the moment, so I'm going to just flip over to another Windows. Now this is Windows XP. Windows XP is really old. It's got a start button, very similar to all the other items I've showed you. You could change your desktop properties, change your wallpaper, screensaver, appearance. You could change all the settings. You have your start button, your task menu, but you notice how they don't have any quick icons here, little shortcuts. They don't have anything sitting on the task manager. Over here we have our administrative icons. We have our volume, our USB key. This is our Windows Updates tab. You might see that Windows 7 as well. And this just wants to make sure that you get your Windows updates to secure your operating system when Microsoft releases them. And this will be a firewall. So Windows Security, this is the alert center saying, hey, there's something going on. You don't have a virus protector. Do you want one? And you just follow the instructions to get this virus protector. And your clock as well, your time and date. Now what you might need to do here is just right click on the taskbar, and you'll see there's quick launch icons, and that brings up those cool little quick launch icons that we saw in Windows 7. So right now we'll take them back off, and we'll right click on this menu here, and we want to say properties. And this shows you if you want to hide the clock, bring the clock back. We can hide inactive icons, so if we're not using anything, it will hide them. See, we want to hide them, so it will show everything that's here, anything administrative that's running. If you have a virus scanner, it'll be there. If you have a calculator minimized, it'll be there. If we want to hide them because we don't want to show them, we can just click there. And the start button we can also adjust too. So if we want a classic start button, so if you go here, let's say apply, and I click on start, the start button looks like the classic Windows 98 type start button. And if we want to go back to the start button here, it's Windows 7. This is more the Windows 7 look and feel. So that's Windows XP. Now what we'll do in XP is I want to show you something called the control panel. Now this is in all versions of Windows as well. The control panel lets you control more devices. So you want to change your date and time, you want to change your keyboard, you want to change your languages, you want to set up a printer or a fax program, you could do it here. If you have network icons, scanners, and schedule tasks, you want to schedule a task to make this computer do something on its own. It's more automation. Sound, speech control. You can set up those user accounts if you want to have multiple users. So we can create another user called test. And now we have a test user. That allows us to go here. Sorry about my menus popping up here. So now we get say log off, and let's switch user. So now I get switch between users. That's what I was showing you in Windows 7. So if I click on this user, it will start up the user's profile and separate it. So I won't go into that too far. I just wanted to show you the items. You can't break anything by just clicking on them. You could make changes to your system, but what you want to do is just have a view of what's going on in here. Change performance settings. Now these are more advanced functions that you may or may not be comfortable with. Just click around. You're not damaging anything by just viewing things. Right? If you go here to computer name, you can see the computer name you have. Here is hardware. So if you want to find out if you have what kind of printer you have, if someone asks you what kind of printer you have, you can click on, if you had a printer icon here, you click on it, it will tell you what you have. In this case, if it was a laptop, it'd be batteries. You could find out all the hardware you have in here. So if someone says, hey, what kind of a CPU do you have? Well, CPU is a central processing unit. Well, this one here, you can say I have an Intel, and it says i7. So those are the keywords you could find here. So if you want to find out what kind of computer you have, you could say I have an Intel, or if it's an AMD, or it could be something else. And they may ask you the speed. Well, now you could tell them the speed as well. So this is where you can find more information about your computer. And these are the main prompts you'd ever want to check. So CPU or the processor, or if you're buying a piece of software and it says you have to have a certain sound card, you can look in here to see if it does. Most cases it's non-issue nowadays, but this is where most people usually ask, what kind of computer do you have? Because some things you buy may or may not work with some computer programs. Some computer programs may not work with some CPUs. Now that's not a common case, but they would recommend that you have an Intel or an AMD processor to do things, or it helps the person helping you figure out what's wrong with your system or your software you're working on. So this is just a device manager, tells you your devices. And again, advanced tasks, we won't go in here too much. This is just a how to use your computer. So don't be afraid to click around in Windows and find things. You could change settings. Just make sure when you do it, if you have to, write down paper what you did and undo it if you do it. That's it. Change your mouse. If you like your right button on your right side, you can do that. This way the click is different. You could change anything. You can change how fast your mouse pointer moves. You can make many different settings in Windows to make it faster or better for yourself once you get comfortable with it. But don't be afraid to click around. The only things you need to worry about when you change is when you delete things. So if you were to turn off your firewall, well, that would be a little dangerous for yourself because your computer wouldn't be protected on the internet anymore. So I wouldn't recommend playing with the firewall. And anytime you do make a change, you could say cancel. You don't have to click OK or apply. If you make a change, let's say you go here and you say okay, you just made a change. Okay, I don't want to do anything. Click cancel, and you go back in there and you go to computer name, and it didn't do anything. But if you click apply, so test, and you click apply, you've just made the change, but you're leaving the window open. If you click OK, you've made the change and you're closing the window. So this way you're done with what you're doing. Now if you click it open again, and you see now we've saved change. So now if I want to take that out, you just delete it, and again you apply or click OK. So I will click OK to show you. I just clicked OK, it closed the window, and it's all done. That's how you make a change. So always click cancel if you're not sure, or X. And if you're not sure what to do with things, click on the question mark here. There's plenty of help in Windows. It will ask you it will tell you things you want to know. You can also Google or YouTube videos as well. So that's Windows XP. Now we get up to Windows 8. I have Windows 8.1 here. The difference between Windows 8 and 8.1, when you click here at the bottom corner, the Windows button or Start button, you click here. Windows 8 only gave you these tiles. That's all they gave you. This was the new Start button. It was a new tile look, mainly aimed at the tablet users. So you had all these live tiles and regular tiles to click on the desktop again to bring it back, and you click on the Start button to bring you back. Windows 8.1 brought the little drop down menu to show you the old Start menu, all the apps you have installed. So this is the new type of Start menu. Instead of the old list, you would just go through here, pick your program, and let's say you wanted one of these on your desktop, you would just right click and you can say pin to taskbar or put it on the Start button. So I'm going to pin to taskbar to show you here. So now let's go back here and let's go back to desktop. Now because I pinned it to taskbar, this is your taskbar. Remember what I said in Windows 7. This is your taskbar. You have the Windows Store, which lets you download applications from the Windows Store. You can purchase them. There's a lot of free applications as well. There's plenty of items in here. So I'll close that because we don't really want to care too much about the store. We also have the desktop area. Again, the desktop, the Start button, the taskbar, and we also have the administrative tasks over here running. So USB, Bluetooth, there's your solve PC issues, right? Remember what I said about the Open Action Center. So the Action Center says, hey, we have no spyware protection or virus protection. You can click on this update now or go and find one. Microsoft has built in a piece of software called Windows Defender. Now that's their built-in virus scanner and their anti-spyware tools. You can click update now. It will go out and update those built-in tools and not get a virus scanner tool if you prefer. It's always recommended to use a virus scanner and any malware and spyware scanner as well, and that'll be covered in another video shortly. So that's the Action Center. So if I don't want to see these, I can click turn off, but I don't recommend that. So for now, we'll close this and just keep those red alerts there. The same thing here, we have our network icon. If we click on this, if we had Wi-Fi, a whole list of Wi-Fi networks would be in this list. You would choose one you want to connect to. Now to get out of this menu, just click over here on your desktop and it goes away. We also see that there's time clock, the clock and date as well, same thing as Windows 7. Not much has changed with this. The look and feel has, right? We want to change the time zone from the default, which is Pacific. We change this to Eastern, and now you will see 9:51 p.m. As soon as I click OK, it changes the time to 12. So it's just after midnight here, and that's it. Same thing, additional clocks, internet time. So once you get used to one version of Windows, sometimes it's the items that look a little different, but the items remain the same as the start. It may look a little different, but the functionality is there. You start here to find what you need. You can also start typing in here. If you want to find Notepad, you just type note and it says sticky notes or Notepad. There you go, Notepad. That's it. So you can quickly find things by clicking on the start button, and it will take you in to that menu, and all you have to do is just start typing and it automatically finds you into the search. You don't have to actually click there. Now here's my user. I'm on this CompuGuy, and there's the power button. Remember on the start button on Windows 7 it had to start, stop, turn off, reboot. Well, this is here. You click here and it says, do you want to shut down or restart? Well, I don't really want to do that, so I'm going to click away and click, and it takes it off the menu. If I want to change user, I could log out and change the user. I could change my picture. I could do many different things here. And again, search. Now if I want to go back to my desktop, just look for the icon called desktop, and that brings you your desktop back. And that's it for Windows 8. Windows 10, very similar. I think it's gone to sleep here. There you go. So Windows 10 has a new bar here. This is a new search web. If you have a microphone on your computer, this is called Cortana. Cortana lets you say, hey, find this for me, just like your phone says. If you have an iPhone, it's Siri, or if you have a Google phone, it's OK Google. In Cortana, you could say, Cortana, find me the best restaurant. It will go out and look for it. Now this machine I have doesn't have a microphone, so it really wouldn't work, but you could just type it in. You know, there you go. See, as I start typing restaurant island, restaurants, and it gives me this TripAdvisor. It wants me to install an application, so I can do that as well. So let's go to the start button. Now the start button looks like Windows 7 and Windows 8. So they merged the both together, so they give you the look and feel of both, because a lot of people complained to Windows 8 that it was just the tiles, they didn't like it. Windows 8.1, they had the tiles in the drop down menu. They wanted the Windows 7 menu back, so they brought this back to give you the tiles as well. Once again, your user account's there. These are the most often used applications. File Explorers for checking all your files. You want to find where your stuff is, you can click here. If you want to go on the internet, you click on your new internet browser, which is called Microsoft Edge. The other one was called Microsoft Internet Explorer. So there's Edge, right? They call it Microsoft Edge, and this is not Internet Explorer. They rewrote it. Now it's funny because they have the E on it still. They should have changed the icon so you get the different idea. So this is called Edge. This is a task view, so you can see all the tasks that are running. this is the Microsoft Store. So if you want to buy applications, there's plenty of applications on here. If you want to install Kodi or Netflix or Roblox or Candy Crush, you can install these, and as you see, they're free. You just need a Microsoft account, and they tell you how to get that from up here. Click Home, and when you go to click on one of them, it asks you to log on. If you don't have a logon account, then you just have to get one for free. You can go to the Microsoft Store, you can just click on here, sign in, and if you don't have an account, it says you want to sign up. You can sign up using your Outlook account or your Hotmail account if you have one of them, or you can just create a new account on there, and that lets you go into the store and purchase items. And again, this is your little Cortana menu, and you have your task icons or your little shortcuts. This is your taskbar. So if you open up anything, so let's say if I go here and go Notepad, I'm going to open up Notepad. Now that's open. See how it's shadowed again? In Windows 10, however, you highlight on it, it shows you a little icon of what it looks like. So if we minimize this, we don't know what's there. You just highlight on it, and it shows you, oh, there it is, and it pops up. Over here we have the usual icons. We have the OneDrive, Microsoft's cloud storage. We have the USB. We have the Bluetooth. We also have the network. So if I had Wi-Fi connected, I can go here and pick any one of the Wi-Fi networks and click on them. Now if they're open, that means you'll just get on no password. If they're locked, you'll have to know the password to get onto the Wi-Fi. People lock them because they don't want to let everybody on their network, because people pay for bandwidth and so forth. And here we are with the speaker icon again. It hasn't changed, it just looks a little different. You can change the volume up and down, you can mute it, you can do everything you want to do. And this here is another one where we have the Action Center, so it looks a little different. And it says, hey, I might have a virus. So I'll clear all of them. Now there's no more actions, and you could change modes. So if you want to quickly go and turn off your computer, you can quickly go to sleep. So click out here and that'll close them menus. And that's pretty much it. So we have Windows 7, we have Linux, we have Windows XP, which is no longer around, so don't go looking for this one. This one here, if you have Windows XP, I recommend you either find someone who can install Linux for you, or Linux, or Ubuntu Linux for you, or another version. This is a free operating system, so you don't have to buy an operating system. Or find Windows 7 if you can do it, or Windows 8. Windows 8 is, you probably won't be able to buy it anymore, or Windows 7, because Windows 10 has replaced it. And then we just go over here to Windows 10. So that's the Windows operating systems. Now I have another one here called Chrome. So if you have a Chromebook, what this is Google's operating system. So they have Chrome, it comes up with a Google search. If you're looking for a certain application, you can use one of Google's applications. They have plenty of applications in their web store. These Chromebooks are really cheap laptops. They're made pretty decent hardware, but what they do is have a base operating system on them called Chrome. So instead of a start button, you have a Chrome button, and it gives you the internet. You can use your mail if you're a Gmail user. You can open up your photos if you're also on the Gmail, the Google Photos. You can pull up all the applications. There's Google Sites, Google Groups, Slides, that's like Microsoft's PowerPoint, Sheets, which is Excel, Docs. You see a lot of schools nowadays using Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides, because this is all free software. They don't have to spend money to buy the software for the kids to learn. So it makes learning cheaper for the school to offer. So this way the kids can learn, and everyone can learn. They can get more units, more Chromebooks in without having to buy the Windows operating system and all these computer pieces and more money. It allows them to save. That's why they do it. So I'm logged on as a user called Mac. So this one here, you can have alerts. Like I said, you can click here, you can click more. You could find more apps. You can use YouTube. You could do anything on a Chromebook. The only thing is, when you install software, you're not actually installing it, you're using it all through your web browser. Microsoft's also using a thing called Office 365 that also allows you to use it through the web browser as well. So this is all browser based. So yes, you have to have an online way. You have to way to get on the internet. So whether you tether it with a phone or a tablet, or you have your device is hooked up to Wi-Fi somewhere. So yes, you have to be online, but there is ways to make it go offline, which is beyond the video of this. So I just wanted to show you what the Chrome OS is. So now I've showed you Windows, I've showed you Chrome, I've showed you Linux, just basics. Now we'll go back to Mac. So we've covered Mac OS. The Mac OS here, instead of a start button, we have quick tabs. So you have all your little icons, your software you're running. You have a little finder which lets you find things. You can type whatever you want in here, or you can go through and find all your software here. You can also look through your files, your AirDrop, your applications. So here's all your applications installed, and you can quickly find the applications you need instead of using a start button. So that's pretty much how you can get around and do things in Mac. Now this is a Mac OS. This is OS 10. This is Yosemite. So there's my wallpaper. So this pretty much covers the basics of computers. So don't be afraid. Click on things. The worst can happen is you open an application and you can just close it afterward. So because I have a computer working so busy, it bounces and it asks you what type of document you want to do. So I'm going to cancel, and that's it. That's all there is to the basics of computers. This is the basic usage of a computer, how to get around the operating systems. I showed you how to get into the control panels. So I will take you back to Windows 10. So Windows 10, they have a settings tab. Now if your settings tab takes you a little differently through some settings. If you're not used to this view, you click the start button again and type control, and you can go to the control panel. So you'll see we have the control panel, which gives you the old view like Windows XP and Windows 7. You change here to small icons, and that gives you all the list of things that are available in here. So you can go to the system icon, and this tells you what operating system you have running. It tells you the devices you have, so your hardware you're running. You want to see what kind of processor you're running, it tells you that. So that's the control panel. Don't hesitate to click through things. If you're not changing anything, just make sure you don't click OK or apply, just say cancel, or just close it when you've opened it. You can do many things like display notifications, apps and power, so you can check your battery usage and things like that. You can check your camera, you can check your account. If you want to create a user, you can create another user, right? Create another user here. You can create a camera, you can create family. You can create many different things in Windows. It allows you to do everything because it is your computer. This, when you want to add, different background screen colors, you can change that, languages. There's many things you can do. And when you're done, you just go back out, and there's a Windows Updates tab. So when it goes out to Microsoft site to make sure you have any security updates, it will update your system automatically. So this is pretty much the basics of computers. Part 1. The next tab I will go into. The next video we'll talk about how to use how to do files, file management, file associations. So when you open a thing called a PDF or a doc file, I will explain that in the next video. So be sure to come back for the next video. I guess we'll do a video 2, maybe of a 5 series. I'm not sure how many we'll do, but we'll keep going as much as you need. Just please like, subscribe, and let me know what else you want to see. Thank you for watching.